Okay, so we're back again with the second part of this lesson, which is going to be baiting chain shift. So technically, you can't actually bait a chain shift. What you can do instead is you want to minimize the risk of pressuring somebody while they have chain shifts. So that's what we really want your opponent to do is just chain shift, and nothing happens afterwards. You just want them to burn their chain shift, and that's it. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you can get anti-air. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you can get hit while you're doing something. So basically, you don't want your opponent to see a button when you chain shift. So there are certain situations where you want to be aware if your opponent has chain shift, mainly after a knockdown or in the middle of your block string. In the middle of your block string, you want to be aware if your opponent has chain shift or not. So wake up CS is really common because you can do wake up CS and then DP. So for example, if your opponent was going to knock you down, you do wake up CS, you see a button, you DP. So that's a very, very common scenario in this game, and that's why you want to be very wary if your opponent has chain shift or not, because it will influence your decision if you want to meaty your opponent. And that is the question. Should you meaty somebody who has chain shift? The general answer is no, if they have a good meterless reversal or they have a good EX reversal and they have meter. Against some characters who have neither, like for example, Hilda's one character who doesn't have a good meterless reversal. Her only reversal is 200 meter. So that's a character that you can pretty much always meaty who, if she has chain shift, you can basically just always meaty her because there's really no risk to doing so. So there are ways to meaty characters who have good reversals and chain shift. One of those ways is to use a safe jump. So in the case of a safe jump, you will see that Elnum was able to meaty me with JC, but we'll still be able to block the DP. It's the same principle in which that safe jump works, where if they DP, they can block in time. If they DP, you can block in time because you land before the DP actually hits you. But you still hit with a meaty button. So that's even though they have chain shift, a good safe jump setup will still get through a chain shift activation. So you can use safe jumps to help deal with the if your opponent has a chain shift. Another way you can deal with chain shift is to meaty with a EX cancelable button. So for example, EX cancelable special. So for example, Elnum gunshots can be EX canceled on whiff into DP or into other specials, EX moves. So for example, if I knock somebody down, I'm going to demonstrate with. So imagine after through Elnum, she did CS on wake up, and then she immediately did EXDP. I'm not going to have her actually do chain shift on wake up because it's really hard to set up the recording. So instead, I'm just going to knock her down, have her do the EXDP, but you will also be able to reactively cancel your your meaty special into DP on reaction to the super flash. So if your opponent has a character who has reversals that are EX reversals and not meterless reversals, it's very easy to reactively meaty them with a special, and then react to their chain shift activation into EX DP, and then use your own EX DP to beat it. Oh, thanks for that then. There you go. So that's one way to meaty somebody who has chain shift. Use a safe special that puts you at frame advantage. In the case of Elnum, 2-2B or 2-6B are both good ways to do that. So if you can't do either things to your opponent, meaties are very high risk. But even then, you still have to meaty your opponent sometimes, because even though your opponent has chain shift, it doesn't mean they'll always do it on wake up. Sometimes they'll just wake up and press buttons anyway. So you do have to gamble between meeting your opponent and also just not meeting them sometimes to just keep their button matching in check. But this is kind of where you kind of enter into more high-level mind games where do I meaty them, do I not? Another situation in which you have to be wary of chain shift is during block strings. So if your opponent's running a block string, you want to keep your block string fairly tight. If there's gaps where you can chain shift, your opponent will chain shift right out the first possible gap. In this case, this block string is so tight that I can't chain shift until the very end where she reverse speeds, and that's pretty good because you want to be able to pressure your opponent without introducing too many needless gaps into your block string, so in which your opponent can get out. So keep your block strings kind of tight, and then your opponent can't chain shift out. Because if they chain shift out, all they're going to see is a repeat, and it's like, well, I can't punish a repeat, so there's nothing much I can do. So you're both basically at a near neutral situation, except the opponent who chain shifted will be at slight advantage. Another key thing to remember is that do not use slow overheads. if your opponent has chain shift, because you're just asking to get smacked in the face by the reversal options. So if your opponent's chain shift, avoid committing to slow overhead options. Instead, just keep your pressure more tight, more safe. Also, make sure you use a lot of reverse speeds in that scenario as well. So aside from that, if your opponent has chain shift, you can remember that you can actually get rid of someone's chain shift by using Veloff. So if your opponent has chain shift, you can hit them with a Veloff, and then it'll remove their chain shift. If they're in neutral, it will also grid break them. So you can see I got rid of Eldum's chain shift. The opponent Eldum's chain shift, and now they can't use chain shift anymore. You can also do this in combos. So you can end your combo in Veloff. It will have the same effect, where it will remove your opponent's chain shift. It didn't there because we're in training mode and I have infinite chain shift set on, but it won't grid break them, but it will remove the opponent's chain shift. So you might want to make that decision if your opponent has really good reversals and you don't want to deal with them. So rather than ending your combo in the normal way, you can instead just blow them off with Veloff, and it's done. So that kind of summarizes how to deal with chain shift. You basically just want the chain shift and nothing else happens. You want to be safe.